Hey crew, I've got the key card. The real key is on the owner's phone to this 26 Tesla Model Y Performance. We are going to take it for a drive, but first, let's check it out what it looks on the inside and outside. The 26 model year introduces the new Juniper generation of Model Y, and with that, you get this light bar that extends across the whole face, along with these thin LED DRLs and turn signals above projector LED headlights. And on the Model Y Performance, there's this extended front lip with these air curtains that send cool air over the front wheels. And I'm not sure how I feel about the light bar situation. It's repeated around back, but I do like that they've compressed the front end and lowered it so it looks sportier, if I can use that word. And emphasizing that characteristic is this ultra red paint with a nice metallic flake to it. It's a good contrast to all the black painted details on the exterior. At the side, we find a set of 21-inch dark gray painted wheels that from the factory come with aero caps to block off some of the gaps, but the difference in range if you leave those on to taking them off is only about 6 miles. So the owner Curly removed those, as I would do, because it really looks so much better. And you can see the contrasting red painted brake calipers, black accents for the door mirrors, window trim, and door handles. And the silhouette of the Juniper model hasn't really changed. There's still a lot of glass there. It gives it kind of a bubble effect. But because the owner Curly got the windows tinted and the front end PPF protected by SoCal Vinyl and PPF in Anaheim, who, by the way, the owner has a CT5V Blackwing in a manual that he says he got in part because of my videos. Very good taste, sir. It does look better. It blends in a little more. Your eye isn't drawn quite as much to all that glass. And then getting to the back, we find this very large carbon fiber lip spoiler. It's actually the biggest they put on a Tesla product, and they actually bolted it to the body this time. It's not just attached with adhesive, so it's not going to peel off. Looking lower, you do get this connected light bar illumination of the Tesla logo right there, and all of these performance cars get this light speed looking logo in the bottom corner, and the Model Y Performance gets a bespoke diffuser that does look a bit more aggressive. One thing I did notice is there's a bit of a panel misalignment of this rear quarter to the trunk lid. It just wouldn't be a Tesla if something didn't fit perfectly. Overall, though, I do think the new Model Y Performance looks better than the older one, and when the owner lowers the car, as he plans to do later this week, it'll look more like a hybrid between a Model 3 and a Model Y Performance. But I want to know from you guys, let me know in the comments, does the new Juniper Model Y Performance look better or worse than the old one? Let's check out the interior next. Opening up by pressing here on the door handle and then pulling, looking inside at this white leatherette interior with seat perforations. The rear seats are heated as well. You can choose a black interior, but I like this white contrast with the red and black there. There also is on the door panel black leatherette up top, leatherette here in white, and then we've got a padded armrest with contrast stitching. This is all leatherette, and there's carpeting inside the door. They didn't cheap out there. I like that. You get one touch up down windows, stepping in. Easy for me to do, getting behind my own seat at 6 feet tall. I've got knee room here. The seat back is all in leatherette. The foot pockets are huge to slide my legs under, so I've got thigh support. And with my head back on the headrest, it clears underneath this fully glass roof, which is tinted, and I'm glad for that, because if not, it gets real hot inside this cabin. Scooting over into the middle seat without a drive shaft hump is easy, and I've got foot pocket room here, along with a screen that's been added for the Juniper upgrade. You can control the climate, the seat heating, media, and you can play games on this. There are 2 USB-C ports underneath that, and I could fit with an adult on either side of me, maybe not for a long journey in comfort, but for a short distance, this is great. Let's check out the front next. Door close noise. It's a decent thud, especially for frameless windows. Oh, before I hop in the driver's seat, I do want to show you the trunk space. So I'm going to hit that here. There's also a frunk with 3 cubic feet of room, but behind the second row, look at all of this volume, 29 cubic feet of space. If you need more, you can press on either of these controls to power fold down or raise that second row of seats. That's a new addition for Juniper. 71 cubic feet of space with those down. It's a ton of volume. In addition, there is this cubby underneath the floor. It's actually a giant cavity holding all of my gear at this moment in time. It's a power trunk lid as well. Now moving into the driver's seat, same material quality in the front, still have that ambient lighting, and now carbon fiber trim there, along with carbon fiber up on the dashboard. For the Juniper upgrade, you also get these sport bucket seats like the Model 3 Performance, and they have that same Lightspeed logo for the seat back with perforations, heating and cooling, no adjusting side bolsters, but you do get thigh extenders, which is very nice, along with aluminum plated pedals. Stepping inside, close up that door. Still sounds good inside with that thud. Ambient lighting is surrounding the upper part of the dashboard. Looking at the steering wheel, it's a nice compact size with a flat-ish bottom. Good places for your hands to notch in at 9 3. Nice thickness to that wheel. And I love that behind that, we have a turn signal stalk. Like every other vehicle, no learning curve for that one. And also they changed the buttons on the wheel. They're not just capacitive touch, they now have some give to them along with the traditional scroll buttons. And the horn is right where it should be, behind the airbag cover. It's not a button off to the side. Over here we've got a 16-inch display. It's now larger and it can pivot towards the driver, and just like before, it's quick responding. You can find what you're looking for after a bit of a learning curve once you adjust to Tesla vehicles. And the climate can be pulled up readily, and the surround view camera system is comprehensive. Underneath that, we've got 2 wireless charging pads. Further down, you can slide this piece forward, which does have some nice texture. I'm glad it's not gloss black. For deep console storage, there's also a set of cup holders here. You can cover those up if you want, and shallow storage underneath the leatherette topped armrest. Visibility is great out of the Model Y. Out over the dashboard with the downward sloping hood is excellent. Pillars aren't overly thick. The door mirrors aren't that large, but they do have blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic. All that glass does lend itself to naked eye visibility. There is a blind spot at that back pillar, and the view out the rear is slender, but it's all workable. Overall, for $58,000 as tested, which includes everything as standard, this is a very well-appointed cabin with nice materials. The only thing missing, I understand the speedo shows up in the upper left-hand corner of this screen, but I want it in front of me as the driver. I want a digital gauge cluster. Let me know in the comments, do you guys think this cabin is worth the money? Now, let's take the Model Y Performance for a drive. Since the car is already on the moment I'm behind the wheel, I just need to put my foot on the brake to be able to then choose a gear. I'm gonna throw on my seatbelt first though, and say, hey cabin crew, thanks for joining for this first drive in the 26 Tesla Model Y Performance. Let me choose our drive settings here. Going to dynamics, I'm gonna begin in the chill acceleration mode with standard decel and standard ride adjustments, and steering effort I'm gonna leave as light. Now I can slide my finger down to go into reverse. That prompts all of our camera angles, all in high resolution, to make sure I'm not gonna hit anyone on my way out. Trajectory lines help guide me, and then foot on the brake again, slide forward to go into drive. And before we get out of this parking lot, I wanna do a turning radius test. So lined up here on the right, I'm gonna turn the wheel and see how tight of a circle we've got. Very tidy indeed. That's great. And now what does the turn signal sound like? Using that stalk behind the wheel, lift up hard to keep it going. It's a sharp tap, but it's not abrasive in noise. And what about if I need to use the horn? Someone is driving recklessly. They deserve a beep. What do they hear? Oh. That's very interesting. It's almost like I'm hearing the horn from another car somewhere out there. Let's talk about this powertrain. Dual electric motors. They are shared with the new Tesla Model 3 Performance, giving us all-wheel drive and 510 horsepower. 513 pound-feet of torque. It's a lot of momentum. And they're paired with an 81 kilowatt-hour battery pack. It can fast charge from 10 to 80% at a rate of 250 kilowatts in about 25 to 30 minutes. And it provides, in this application without those aero caps, 300 miles of range. So far, limited exposure here, but the adaptive dampers are impressing me most. They did make tweaks for this new Model Y for a more compliant ride in this performance trim, and it's shining through. This is a chewed up road surface, and the ride is just excellent. I mean, I am coming right out of my M2 CS just as a reference point, but, you know, thinking about the last Model Y Performance I drove, it did not ride this compliantly. And we do have these Hankook all-season tires, 255 section front, 275 at the back. And you can get from the factory a set of summer tires if you so choose. But I'm really impressed with the way this rides. And with the seat comfort. They look more aggressive than old Model Y Performance seats, but they're just as supple and supportive. Great ergonomics to these. It's an excellent daily driver setup here. And in the chill acceleration mode, though the response is more relaxed, it's plenty. Of course, it's an EV. You get that instant torque, instant power delivery, but I really don't have to dig too far into the throttle to arrive at my desired speed. And with the standard level of regen braking, letting off the throttle will slow you down pretty darn quickly. This is a one pedal drive setup, so I'm gonna try the reduced level as a comparison, getting back up to speed before peeling off the throttle. Much more gradual slowing here. I like that. It's not fully off. You still get benefits of regen braking, but you do actually need to use the brake. And the responsiveness of that brake pedal was great. It quickly started slowing once I was on it, but it didn't do so in a grabby way. I could feel it out up to that stop. I'm gonna try now the standard level of acceleration, see how that compares. Oh yeah, definitely more juice at maybe 1/8 of throttle. I can't wait to see what insane is like, but yeah, standard is not slow. Standard is probably where most people would find the sport mode for a performance car. The steering effort right now in the lightest level is in fact light. You do get some initial resistance just off center, but then it sort of like slackens up, which is interesting. I'm gonna compare that. This, it does feel heftier for sure. I like standard. What does heavy feel like? I imagine I'm not going to enjoy this quite as much, at least out of a performance context. That's not bad either. Probably as natural steering feel as I've ever had in a Tesla product for sure. As a quick aside, the owner of this car also had a Camaro ZL1. I actually got to review it for a video, and so that's the kind of performance proclivities that he has, and yet he finds a lot of satisfaction driving this Model Y Performance around as a daily. He does also want some lighter, more focused sports car again, and I appreciate that, but I see why he likes driving this thing around. This car also has a trial of the $8,000 full self-driving option, which I plan on trying right now. This means I can take my hands off the steering wheel, feet off the pedals, and it's going to drive me to my destination. This is the first time I'm experiencing something like this on city streets. And it feels really weird. It's doing a nice job following this Mercedes-Benz, keeping that same distance like I would have on the highway with Super Cruise as an example from GM. This is just a side street. Staying in the center of the lane. It appears to be slowing for this stoplight, not just gonna run it. Thank goodness. And, oh, such a gentle stop. Better than I would have done, to be honest. Oh, green. And it's going. This is a trip. I didn't know this technology was at this level at this point in time. Oh, it is making a left turn because that's where I've navigated to. Wow. All right, this is the first intersection. I'm gonna let the car turn itself in. Unlike the Yukon, it didn't go over the white line, and it did it. I'll admit every part of me was screaming, grab the wheel, but not because the car wasn't doing that safely, but just because, you know, cars don't typically drive themselves. Quick caveat to this praise. Would I want my M2 CS to just drive me around town? No. That's not why I bought that car. I bought that car because I wanted to connect with it. I wanted to feel everything and be in control of everything it's doing. But would I want my more casual daily driver, errand runner to just scoot me about town? Yeah, that'd be pretty nice. It is pretty nice. Another caveat to my praise for this system, if Tesla, or any other manufacturer really, took out the steering wheel and then said, here's your self-driving car, at this point in time, I would not be okay with that. Because every other car out there is not self-driving. Some of them might be doing this, but the vast majority are not. And so me not having control, the ability to grab the wheel or put my feet on the pedals and get out of a sticky situation, would be a deal breaker for me. But because I can still take over control when and how I need to, I can be relaxed about this. Another thing that's getting me here, unrelated to self-driving, is that as the speeds have picked up, I'm more aware of how quiet this cabin is. It's so well insulated from outside traffic and tire noise and wind noise. This is significantly quieter in my mind and my recollection than the old Tesla Model Y Performance or non-performance. You hear the electric motors churning. You hear the turn signal. My water bottle in this case. But that's about it. Serenity. Changing gears now. Figuratively, of course, because this is an EV with a single-speed direct drive. Anyway, I want to see about the performance. So I'm moving into the insane acceleration mode, and I've got my race box set up here for a real-world 0 to 60 run. One thing to point out with that before I actually do my run is that the new Model Y Performance doesn't have the track mode, so it doesn't really have a series of adjustments you can make to torque forward or backward or anything like that. There is still launch control. I can activate that by putting my foot on the brake, pinning the throttle and holding it for a second. It'll then tell me launch is active, and then I'm good to go. So race box is ready, brake throttle, ready to launch, letting go. Okay. Oh, there's 60 in 3.46 seconds, and my insides feel a lot like the stuff that I just heard in the back thrown around. Hey, all-wheel drive and instant torque are good for 0 to 60 runs. Go figure. Yeah, 510 horsepower though, and 513 pound-feet of torque. That's a difference than just a normal 200 horsepower EV. And as evidence of that, I'm gonna hit it from the mid-range with the insane acceleration mode. Well, now, friends. That, ooh, nice 911. That's a fun button right there, the accelerator pedal in this car, because that's a healthy amount of power delivered the moment I press the button. Well, and it hangs in there. It sure does. It just keeps accelerating, folks, rapidly. It's just matched by electric motor whir, but insane mode. I don't know if it's appropriate for this acceleration. This is more like a lot of wee. But putting that in a mode label seems ridiculous. Oh, I got passed by a Prius. He wants some. That's never happened before. Traffic up ahead. Sorry, bud. Yeah, the acceleration, it's forceful. And with these more supportive seats, the G-force in corners is even more pleasant than before. Now that the road is getting twisty, I'm gonna change up the settings a bit. Keeping it in insane for acceleration, I've got it on standard decel so I can have the benefit of regen braking before each new curve. And then for ride and handling, I've got that on sport now. And for the stability assist, you can't turn that off completely like you could in the old one, but I'm putting that on reduced, which it gives me a disclaimer. I agree to that. Now we're good. And away we go! My goodness gracious. So the brakes haven't been changed much compared to the standard Model Y. You do get larger rear rotors and some grippier pads, but I didn't really have complaints for the standard Model Y's brakes anyway, so that's not an issue here. The shove out of curves is nice, and it still feels like I get a good bit of poke from the back end, not just from the front. So even though we can't go in and adjust the torque split, which I do kind of miss, I'll be honest, it doesn't feel like it wants to understeer. Speaking of the steering, that was an interesting, is that a bump in the road? It's an odd hiccup under braking. The steering I have left in the heavy level, which gives me resistance almost, there it is again, that's bizarre. Maybe a suspension issue. As I was saying about the steering, it's almost uniform in the resistance level as you add lock. It doesn't build, which communicates grip levels and load. There's a little bit of it, I should correct that. There is a little bit of building of resistance. It just doesn't do so in as communicative a way as some other performance products. But with the weight down low, and with the way those motors are serving up energy quickly, the Model YP makes its way through a twisty set of curves quickly. And I am sure that the reduction in the stability control, as I've said it, is allowing for the sense of rotation I'm getting here, pressing out the other end of a corner. Hey, this is a good time. I'm not gonna say it's not. Got a little bit squirrely there as I went almost to ABS. That might be one of the limiting factors of this vehicle as you're carrying a lot of pace. But I don't want to be too quick to throw the brakes under the bus. As a reminder, I am on Hankook all-season tires, nice bends. So that very well could be the biggest contributor to the longer braking distances and the limitation of grip through curves. To put this handling in a relevant performance context, though fun, certainly, this isn't as enjoyable going through these curves at speed as the Hyundai Ioniq 5N with its simulated gear shifts and its better steering feedback and the fact that its suspension doesn't thud at odd intervals. Speaking of competitors, let's go over pricing and rivals. The Tesla Model Y Performance starts and is as tested at $59,130. It competes with the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, especially if you're focused on the performance end of things. That car starts at $68,000 though. It does make 641 horsepower, gets to 60 in 3.1 seconds, but is limited to a range of just 221 miles. As an American competitor, we've got the Chevy Blazer EV SS that starts around $62,000, makes 615 horsepower, gets to 60 in 3.4 seconds, and has a range around 300 miles like this. Or for almost double the price, you've got the BMW iX M70 xDrive that starts at $113,000. It makes 650 horsepower, gets to 60 in 3.2 seconds, and has a similar 303 mile range. If I wanted one vehicle to do it all, well, I probably wouldn't buy an EV. But if I was dead set on getting an EV, then it would be a pretty close call between the Hyundai Ioniq 5N and this right here. This, you're saving a good amount of money. You do have the option of that full self-driving. It rides nicely. It's well appointed. It has good technology and certainly better range than the Hyundai, but the Ioniq 5N fires back with more engagement. It is just more fun to drive. That said, if I did, and if I had the budget for it, I certainly would, have a dedicated sports car, like even just a Miata, then I would get this as my daily driver. Compliant ride, comfortable seats, technology, features, quietness, good range. And then if you had the dedicated sports car for fun, for engagement, that's a very compelling two-car solution. And I definitely understand why Curly, the owner of this vehicle, has chosen it as his daily driver. Which among the options I shared would you guys choose? Let me know in the comments. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will see you again next time. Whee!